What's good, y'all? It's your boy Havoc with Final Round. We just had the last press conference yesterday between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. And look, we can't read too much into it, right? The body language and what these guys are saying. We can't read too much into it, but it is a small piece of the puzzle. And it does give us somewhat of an indication of where the fighters are at mentally and physically before the fight. And I would have to say, look, I have no dog in this fight. Obviously, I'll make a prediction. I'll make a prediction video on who I'm going to choose. And obviously, I want to be right about my choice, but I really don't have a dog in this fight. So I thought the press conference was fairly even. I thought both of them, had their moments. And it was good that Deontay Wilder engaged the questions. He engaged Tyson Fury, regardless of whether you believe in all the conspiracy theories and the glove gate and cheating. It was a great source of entertainment. And that's what Deontay Wilder needed to understand from the last press conference where he had his headphones on. I can't blame him for his approach mentally, because maybe he's trying to focus solely on the fight and win, because at the end of the day, that's what's important, and that's what's going to keep your boxing career alive, is winning, especially after all this controversy with the glove gate and all that stuff. But you also have to put into perspective that the fans are putting you on the stage. They're investing their money to you, so give them a show. Entertain them. Believe it or not, there's lots of casual fans, or people who aren't even boxing fans. They see these press conferences, weigh-ins, and face-offs, and they get invested when there's something to see. When you give them a beef, when you give them a narrative, it's all about narratives. They start to see these clips on social media, and they want to be a part of the big event that's going on, and they start reading into it or reading into the fighters more, and they get invested, and they spend their time and they spend their money. And at the very least, you just have to pay homage to the fans. Like I said, they put you on this stage. Give them a show. So it was good that Deontay Wilder engaged. I thought that was a win in a sense for him. And I'll say the strongest point on Deontay Wilder's team, or the highlight for me, was Malik Scott. There was a lot of questions I had. You can see in my previous video, to where I'm watching training of Deontay Wilder. I'm very impressed in the way he looks. But I had two big questions. One, does Wilder understand why he's utilizing these techniques? Does he have intent behind them? Is there methodology behind them? Because you can do all that stuff, but if you don't understand why you're doing it, it's kind of useless, right? And I heard Malik Scott saying so many words like, look, there's intent behind what we're doing. My mitt work isn't purely choreographed, and I try to put him in situations and help him understand why he's doing the stuff he's doing, right? So that was very important. Now, that wasn't quoted word for word, but I understood what he was getting at. So he kind of answered that question for me. I think that's really important. I'm not saying this is going to help Deontay Wilder's going to win the fight because of this, but it's going to put him in a better position to win. He also clarified that he wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel, like I said in my last video, which was very important. He said he kind of took the tools Deontay Wilder already had and kind of showed them to him, and kind of came up with a game plan and strategy for him to implement that and do what he does best. So that was also another highlight. And there was also an interview with Malik Scott after the press conference. We got to pick his brain a little bit. This dude, I think he can be a great trainer. I know a lot of people in the boxing world are kind of questioning his credentials, but he seems very sharp. He seems very intelligent. He seems to know boxing. And look, okay, he wasn't a top 5 heavyweight. The dude was still a professional prize fighter. And even if he wasn't, that doesn't mean you can't understand the game and be a great trainer. We've seen it in sports, even out of boxing. You don't have to have experience within the sport to be a good coach or to be a good trainer. Now, obviously, I think it helps. I think it helps your reputation, and I think you gain a little bit more respect at the end of the day when you've been in the fire, you've been in the trenches. But nonetheless, you don't have to actually do the sport as long as you're invested in it, you're passionate about it, and you're studying it. And Malik Scott, I think he has a bright future, regardless of whether Deontay Wilder wins in training fighters if he chooses to move forward. Now, for Tyson Fury, he was kind of interesting to me. He still seemed, like Tyson Fury. He still seemed confident, but he did seem a little off. And I can't quite put my finger on it. That's why I say we can't read too much into this stuff. I think one thing that's kind of bothering him a little bit is, the allegations of cheating. And not only that, I think he sees that Deontay Wilder is not engaging him in mental warfare the way he did in the second fight or the previous fights. And look, we don't know if that's a good thing or not, right? Deontay Wilder is not keeping the same energy he had for the first two fights or who he's been for his whole career. But I can't say that's a bad thing, because maybe he just understands he needs to take a different approach to the mental warfare aspect, because that is real. It's not just physical in there, you guys. There's a mental battle going on between two fighters. And Tyson Fury is a freaking psychologist, man. He knows how to get into your head. He's a hypnotist as well. Boxers are a lot of different things. They're not just athletes. They're psychologists, they're hypnotists, they're performers, showmen, they're magicians in the ring. There are a lot of different things. Well, if you want to be considered one of the greats. And even Deontay Wilder, to a certain extent, he was very confident, very brash, and entertaining in his own way. But I think he realizes, I'm not going to beat this guy in mental warfare. Maybe the way and he's getting in my head from the past fights, maybe the way to approach it is not even to pay attention. Treat him like a child. Don't even engage him. And that may be kind of frustrating Tyson Fury to a certain extent. Will that change the dynamics on the fight Saturday? I tend to think not. Tyson Fury is a vet, man. He will figure it out. And I think, if anything, if it bothers him significantly, I think it's because he wants to put on a show for the fans. He wants to up the ante all the time. You hear him say, he's truly a warrior, you guys, when you think about Tyson Fury, because you hear him say all the time, I want the best of Deontay Wilder. I'm hoping he brings something to the table. He wants to be tested. He wants to be challenged. You don't get up from a 12th round knockdown, pull yourself out of unconsciousness from another dimension if you're not willing to, if you're not looking for glory and greatness. You don't do that, man. That guy is looking for a challenge, and I think he wants to make this, hype it up as much as possible to give himself the biggest challenge as possible. And seeing Deontay Wilder not engage as much in the press conferences and the weigh-ins and stuff like that, the face-offs, that could be bothering him a little bit. But do I think it would affect him in the ring? No, I don't. But like I said, man, I thought this was pretty even between the two. I wish they faced off. It would have turned it up that much more. But I would like to know what you guys think. Like the video, comment down below. Who do you think won the press conference? Does one of the fighters seem off? Does Tyson Fury seem anxious and nervous? Does Deontay Wilder seem off, or does he seem confident? Let me know, you guys. If you're new and you subscribe, let everybody know. We're building this family. It's a new channel. I appreciate the love and support, man. I'm very thankful. Up and coming boxer, also a trainer. This is my life, man, and I'm passionate about it, and I hope to share it with the boxing community. So, till another one, stay safe.